You ever wanted to be a squirrel? How about a squirrel with a gun? If you live in New York, your answer should be no. But for the rest of us, the people over at DD Creations have allowed us to live out that fantasy. Squirrel with a Gun is a fun little indie game where you play as a squirrel with a gun. Collect acorns to unlock additional guns that you can find in the overworld, and collect bigger acorns to progress the story. Extort the public for more acorns and survive the government agents that are after you for some reason, and that's the game. I'll be scoring this game based on 10 categories. Gameplay, story, music, graphics, performance, replayability, controls and mechanics, innovation and creativity, user-friendliness, value for your hard-earned money, all of which are 10 points for a total of 100 points. At the end, I'm going to add a bonus category of how much fun I had playing it. So theoretically, you can get up to 105 out of 100, but we won't worry about that. All gameplay is taken from my Twitch stream, and with that being said, let's get into it. Gameplay. Starting off strong with this category, Squirrel with a Gun is absolutely 100% fun. Who needs a story? We have a squirrel hovering through the air with nothing more than a dream and 80,000 rounds from their Uzi. I was worried that the gameplay would get repetitive after a while, and if it were a longer game, it may have, but sitting at a runtime of about 6 hours, that's how long it took me to beat it anyways, I found myself having just as much fun at the end as I did in the beginning. Variety of guns you can use all do feel different. The Uzi is a bit glidey, you know, if you're on the ground, shoot around, it's like you're skating on ice. The shotgun is a little more abrupt. There is a little bit of variety in the gameplay. Use the pistol when you need some precision, whether that's jumping or aiming, you know, pistols just kind of good all around, well balanced. I was gonna give this category an 8 out of 10, but then I remembered that a bunch of frat boys made it rain acorns on me while I was on a stripper pole, so I'm bumping that up to a 9. That's just fun. As for the story and narrative, this gets a 3. I'm just gonna say it, the story here is pretty much non-existent. There are pieces of what they wanted the story to be, but it never really comes together in a way that makes any sense. Gonna be getting into a little bit of spoilers here, so if you don't want that, feel free to skip ahead. Game starts off with a cutscene of a squirrel breaking into a government facility that's housing a golden acorn. Already I'm confused. How did the squirrel find out about the acorn in the first place? Why is the government funding golden nut research? Then some story happens where you actually get the gun. Guy trips over a plate and you stare at the gun and something just clicks and you pick up the gun. And then you go around, things are fine for a while, and you're collecting more golden acorns that are around town. The FBI can't have that, so they're hunting you down with their leaders, mother and father. Why do the agents care more about stopping the squirrel than they do about the acorns around town? If they were upset that you took one, maybe they should get the other 50. Why are mother and father put in charge of squirrel slaughter like a couple of New York police officers? Why does the squirrel have the cognitive ability to fight back instead of just nonchalantly looking for more nuts? These questions are never answered and only become more irritating if you tend to think about dumb things a lot like I do. So I'm sticking with it. 3. Music. This is one of the more subjective categories, as my score and your score will likely differ largely based on what kind of music we listen to in our day-to-day lives. If you listen to country and I listen to polka, then our opinions of the soundtrack for Polka Party Slaughter Time are probably gonna be very different. That said, I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible here. Squirrel with a Gun does cover a lot of genres. Around town, it's all kind of variations of the same song, but they're all in different styles. For instance, if you're at the saloon, it's more of a country. If you're at the wedding ceremony, there's a wedding ceremony in kind of the overworld. That has more of a melodic feel. If you're underwater, it's something different, but it's all the same song. You can kind of tell. That song is good. I have no issues with it. I wish the variety was there a little more, but admittedly, I guess it does take some effort to write the same song in multiple genres. So I'm not going to be too hard on it. The standout for me are the battle theme, the boss battle theme, and the secret underground bunker theme, because those are all different songs. Those are all kind of more up-tempo music, and they fit what I listen to more. Those 3 songs are very high energy, with the battle themes being more rock and metal based, and the underground bunker theme is like a high energy jazz. There's a lot of variety. I liked it. So overall, I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an 8. Graphics, visuals. For $20, admittedly, this game really impressed me in a lot of ways. The graphics were not one of them. That's not to say the graphics were bad. You get what you pay for, and for the middle-of-the-road price tag, you get middle-of-the-road graphics. I'm not gonna harp on it too much. You get what you pay for. This category gets a 5. Performance. By and large, Squirrel with a Gun performs very well. I didn't see many drops or stutters in my playthrough, except one part. There's a cutscene just after the first boss fight with Father that at one point crashed my game. Like, crashed it entirely. So it seems like Squirrel with a Gun is crashed. So, we're gonna restart the game. You know what? It's an indie game, it's bound to happen, whatever. Let's try it again. So I go back, I beat the boss again, I collect my golden acorn, and move on with my life. But then a while later in the game, you get to a point where you have to collect a certain amount of golden acorns to progress, that number being 40. I got up to 39 and then couldn't find any more, but I knew that there was one more in that boss arena that I missed on my way to the actual boss fight. So I go back and I collect my acorn and things are looking good. And then I enter the arena just to find out that the boss fight's replayable, which is good in some ways and bad in others. If you want to go back and relive that experience, go for it. You can do that. It's fun. Unfortunately, now I'm stuck. Right? There's a 50-50 shot that might let me pass. It might crash my game again. At this point, I'm kind of stuck. I'm already in the boss fight. I'm gonna roll the dice. Not only did the game crash again, but it crashed my entire stream. I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, did I just waste my time? Is this going to set me back? You know, I boot up my stream, boot up the game, fine, I guess, and it didn't let me keep the acorn. There was no autosave system after beating the boss, unfortunately, so that set me back. I was able to progress eventually, but that boss fight cutscene it's iffy. You know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's my system, maybe not everybody has that, I don't know. I can only give you what I experienced. It's one experience, but the fact that it crashed my whole system, that's got to bring it down some points. I'm going to give it a 7. Replayability. Usually, I don't think too much about replayability, with some exceptions. That said, as soon as I finished Squirrel with a Gun, I found myself thinking about it a lot. Like a lot. There are some acorns out there to collect, some puzzles to solve, some guns to unlock. While I can't say I've gone back yet, the fact that I'm still thinking about it needs to be mentioned. Because usually, as soon as I finish a game like this, I'm usually done. One and done. I don't care to go back and 100% a lot of games. But this one, I might. And because it's still in my head like that, can't go too low, but because I haven't gone back yet, I can't go too high either. I'm just gonna give it a 7.5, and we're gonna call it good. Controls and mechanics. The mechanics are pretty straightforward. Pick up gun, shoot the gun. When you want to use the recoil to double jump, you press spacebar. Oh dear God. That's how every gun works. There are some mild variations for how each gun functions. If you want a lot of recoil, you know, just once or twice, you use the shotgun. It only has 2 shell capacity, I guess you'd say. I'm not a gun guy. If you want just 1 or 2 big recoil effects, use the shotgun. If you kind of want a jetpack type feeling, you use the Uzi, and if you want more precision, you use the pistol. I mentioned that earlier. Score 7. Innovation and creativity. It's a squirrel with a goddamn gun taking on the government. 10 of 10. User friendliness. There's not a lot to navigate on Squirrel with a Gun, but I do have one nitpick. There are outfits hidden throughout the map that you can use to customize your character. I didn't realize that some of these outfits have sort of mechanics to them. First couple I found, it was just visual. There was no gameplay impact at all. Then I got to a part, there's a big minefield, and I blew up. And I'm like, okay, I'll try this approach. And I blew up again. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And eventually the game popped up with a little notification like, hey, maybe there's an outfit somewhere that lets you reduce the damage from explosions. Okay. Suddenly, outfits just got way more important. Not that that's a bad thing, But like, I wish they had said something, like, even if it's just the first outfit you pick up, come up with a message like, hey, some of these have other effects. That would have been massive and would have gotten this another point or two. But because of that, and because I did waste so many times dying without knowing it, I've got to give this a 7. Value for money. I spent 6.1 hours in this game, according to Steam, which for $20 is pretty good. It's not bad at all. There's no side missions, there's no deep political thoughts, no message of morality. It's just a straightforward, fun little shooter with some kick-ass music. You get exactly what you pay for. I am going to take some points away for the crashes. If I'm spending money on a product, I want it to be polished in a way that I'm not gonna have those crashes. Glitches are to be expected in the modern gaming world. I get that. Those are fun to look at. That's why Bethesda's still in business. But full-on crashes, I have to take points away, so this gets a 6. As for the fun that I had, while I was playing, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. So 4 bonus points there for a total of 73.5 out of 100. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.